Did you know that over 300,000 people quietly left the UK last year, and that number's still rising? Some call it a brain drain. Others say it's the start of a silent exodus. But here's the real question. What do they know that you don't? From skyrocketing rent to collapsing public services, the UK is facing a future that might not be livable for many, and 2030 could be the breaking point. In this video, we're uncovering 10 shocking reasons why staying in the UK might not just be uncomfortable, it could be downright risky. We're talking about economic instability, political chaos, healthcare delays, and something even more urgent that barely anyone is talking about: climate threats on your doorstep. So before you scroll away, ask yourself, is it smarter to stay or safer to go? What you'll hear today isn't fearmongering. It's fact-based, future-proof information that could change your life. Number 10. Economic freefall. The UK economy is no longer the stronghold it once was. Since the 2008 financial crash, wages have largely stagnated while the cost of living has surged to record highs. According to the Office for National Statistics, real household disposable income has barely moved in over a decade, meaning people are working more but taking home less. Inflation has consistently outpaced wage growth, squeezing the middle class and pushing more families into financial stress. From energy bills to supermarket prices, everything is rising, except your paycheck. And with the Bank of England warning of prolonged economic stagnation, the situation is unlikely to improve anytime soon. Jobs that once offered stability and upward mobility are now being replaced with insecure contracts, low-paid gig work, or simply disappearing due to automation. Young professionals, in particular, are finding it nearly impossible to save for a home, invest in their future, or build any sense of financial security. Other developed countries, like Germany, Canada, or the Netherlands, are offering not just better wages but also better value for money, cheaper housing, affordable healthcare, and a higher quality of life overall. So, if you're feeling like you're treading water financially in the UK, it's not just in your head, you're being left behind. But here's the kicker. This economic pressure isn't just affecting individuals, it's reshaping the entire country. Small businesses are closing, public services are under strain, and future generations are growing up in a system that no longer guarantees stability. While politicians argue and policies stall, more and more UK residents are quietly making an exit, chasing not just better pay but a better life. The question is, how long are you willing to wait before you start doing the same? Number 9. Housing crisis out of control. If you've tried to rent or buy property in the UK recently, you already know the nightmare. House prices have gone up over 70% in the last decade, but wages? They've barely moved. The average UK house now costs over 9 times the average salary, putting home ownership completely out of reach for millions, especially young people. Renting isn't much better. In cities like London, Manchester, and Bristol, rents have hit all-time highs, with some tenants facing annual increases of 20% or more. And despite government promises to build more homes, demand still far outweighs supply, driving prices even higher. But it's not just about money, it's about quality of life. People are being forced into cramped, poorly maintained flats, long commutes, or shared housing well into their 30s. Many young families can't even consider starting a life in their hometown because it's simply unaffordable. Contrast that with places like Portugal, Poland, or even parts of eastern Spain, where you can rent a spacious, modern apartment for a fraction of what you'd pay in the UK. In these countries, locals and expats alike enjoy lower housing costs, cleaner cities, and stronger communities, all without drowning in debt. This crisis is changing the shape of society. Entire generations are becoming rent-locked, with no realistic path to owning property. It's no longer about saving harder or working more. It's the system itself that's broken. And while politicians blame market forces or inflation, other countries are actively addressing housing shortages with smart urban planning, fair rent caps, and support for first-time buyers. The reality is harsh but simple. If owning a decent home is part of your future goals, staying in the UK may keep that dream out of reach indefinitely. Number 8. Healthcare in crisis. Once considered a global model of universal care, the NHS is now on life support. Waiting times for routine treatments, surgeries, and even emergency care have reached historic highs. As of 2025, over 7.5 million people are on NHS waiting lists, with some patients waiting over a year for procedures that used to be completed within weeks. GP appointments? Good luck getting one without a 2-week wait. And if you need mental health support, the delays are even longer, sometimes stretching into months, if you're even accepted into treatment at all. The truth is, the NHS is overwhelmed, underfunded, and understaffed, and it's getting worse every year. This collapse isn't just frustrating, it's dangerous. People are now being forced to pay privately for care that should be publicly available. Some are flying abroad for quicker treatment, while others delay crucial diagnoses due to impossible waiting times. Healthcare workers are burning out, strikes are becoming common, and morale is at an all-time low. And while politicians continue to promise funding boosts, the system is buckling under decades of political mismanagement. Compare that to countries like Germany or the Netherlands, where hybrid systems provide both efficiency and accessibility, and suddenly the UK's model starts to look seriously outdated. For many, healthcare is a deciding factor in whether to stay or go. And with the UK's aging population and increasing chronic illness rates, the system is only going to come under more pressure. If you're thinking long-term, raising a family, aging safely, or simply staying healthy, you need to ask yourself whether the UK can still offer you that basic security. Because right now, it's not just about surviving illness, it's about surviving the system itself. Number 7. Quality of life is declining. You might not notice it immediately, but life in the UK is becoming harder in ways that go beyond money. The stress, the overcrowding, the constant rush, it all adds up. Commute times are getting longer, public transport is often unreliable, and urban pollution is affecting both physical and mental health. In major cities, air quality is now a serious health concern, with studies linking it to rising cases of asthma, heart disease, and even cognitive decline. Add in grey skies for most of the year, and it's no wonder seasonal depression and burnout are on the rise. Work-life balance is another area where the UK is falling behind. Compared to countries like Sweden, Denmark, or the Netherlands, where shorter workweeks and flexible hours are becoming the norm, UK workers are putting in more hours with fewer benefits. Many employees feel like they're just surviving, not living, working late, eating on the go, and rarely having time to recharge. Leisure has become a luxury, and mental health services, if available, are overloaded with demand. If you're constantly exhausted and anxious, it's not a personal failing, it's the environment you're in. What's most alarming is how normalized this has become. High stress, low energy, and poor health are seen as just part of adult life in the UK. But in many other countries, people are choosing a slower, more intentional lifestyle, more time with family, better food, stronger community support, and a deeper connection with nature. You don't have to accept burnout as your baseline. If your everyday life feels like a constant struggle, it might not be you. It might be the country you're living in. And the difference in quality of life abroad could be far more dramatic than you imagine. Number 6. Post-Brexit isolation. Brexit didn't just change trade deals, it reshaped the UK's relationship with the world, and the ripple effects are still being felt. Once a key player in the European Union, the UK is now operating solo, and the cost of that independence is becoming clear. Trade barriers have led to higher prices, delays in imports, and more red tape for businesses. Small companies, especially those who once thrived by exporting to Europe, are now struggling to survive. And for individuals, it's meant fewer job opportunities abroad, more restrictions on movement, and a sense of being cut off from a wider network of opportunity. The freedom to live and work across 27 EU countries was once one of the biggest perks of being British. That freedom is now gone. Young people, especially, have lost access to EU programs, internships, and educational exchanges like Erasmus. Digital nomads, freelancers, and remote workers now face visa issues in places where they once moved freely. Meanwhile, many European countries are rolling out new, welcoming immigration policies, while the UK is tightening its borders. It's not just about politics, it's about losing access to a world of possibilities that used to be right on your doorstep. The social impact is just as severe. Brexit created deep political and cultural divides within the country, and years later, the wounds still haven't healed. Communities are fractured, tensions are high, and the once celebrated British soft power is fading fast. The rest of the world sees a nation retreating inward, while other countries are investing in global partnerships and future-forward economies. So if you're someone who values openness, mobility, and international opportunity, it may be time to ask whether the UK still fits into your future, or whether it's time to reconnect with the world from somewhere else. Before we dive into the top 5 reasons, let us ask you this. If you had the chance to move anywhere in the world, where would you go and why? Drop your answer in the comments. We read every single one. And if you're finding this video valuable, please hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it means the world to us and helps us keep creating content that matters. Number 5. Climate threats are rising. The UK is not often thought of as a climate danger zone, but that perception is quickly becoming outdated. By 2030, large parts of the country will face increasing risks from flooding, heat waves, and coastal erosion, according to the UK's own Environment Agency. Cities like London, Hull, and Cardiff are especially vulnerable due to outdated infrastructure and rising sea levels. Flash floods, once rare, are becoming a regular event, damaging homes, shutting down transport, and putting lives at risk. And with hotter, drier summers on the rise, even basic access to clean water could become a serious issue in the near future. What's worse is how underprepared the UK is to handle these changes. The country's aging infrastructure, including drainage and housing, wasn't built for this kind of climate volatility. Urban areas are turning into heat traps in summer, while winter storms continue to grow in intensity and frequency. Insurance companies are already pulling out of high-risk areas or raising premiums to unaffordable levels. This isn't just about extreme weather. It's about the long-term livability of your neighborhood, your home, your community. If you're planning to raise a family or retire in the UK, these environmental stresses will only become more disruptive. Meanwhile, other countries are taking climate adaptation seriously. Nations like Finland, Austria, and parts of Canada are investing heavily in sustainable urban planning, resilient infrastructure, and clean energy, making them far more appealing for those thinking long-term. These aren't just safe havens, they're future-proof zones. In contrast, the UK risks being caught unprepared, reacting instead of planning. So if you're considering your options, don't just look at today's weather. Look at where the climate curve is headed. Because by 2030, it won't just be about comfort, it will be about survival. Number 4. Education is falling behind. The UK once prided itself on having one of the strongest education systems in the world, but that reputation is slipping fast. Schools are overcrowded, underfunded, and facing a mass exodus of qualified teachers. According to the Department for Education, nearly 1 in 3 teachers leaves the profession within 5 years, citing burnout, low pay, and lack of support. Class sizes are growing, resources are shrinking, and students are paying the price. From outdated curricula to underperforming schools, the quality of education is declining, and that has serious long-term consequences for families planning their future here. For parents, it means more pressure to supplement learning at home or pay for private education, which isn't an option for many. For students, it means falling behind on global benchmarks. The UK has dropped in international rankings like PISA, particularly in math and reading, where other European and Asian countries are rapidly pulling ahead. Countries like Finland, Singapore, and the Netherlands are not only outperforming the UK academically, but also promoting student well-being, creativity, and life skills, things the UK system often neglects. In those countries, students learn more with less stress, and teachers are treated like respected professionals, not just overworked employees. The bigger issue is that education shapes a nation's future. A failing system doesn't just hurt individuals, it weakens society. Innovation slows, inequality grows, and social mobility grinds to a halt. If you're raising children or planning to, the question isn't just about where the best schools are, it's about where your children will have the best chances in life. And increasingly, that answer may lie outside the UK. Because when education stops being a priority, the future becomes uncertain, not just for kids, but for the entire country. Number 3. Privacy is disappearing. The UK is quietly becoming one of the most surveilled countries in the world. With an estimated 6 million CCTV cameras, about 1 for every 11 people, your movements are being tracked nearly everywhere you go. That's not just in major cities, but also in small towns, public transport, shops, and even residential areas. Add in increasing online surveillance laws like the Investigatory Powers Act, nicknamed the Snoopers Charter, and it's clear, your digital and physical privacy are no longer guaranteed. The UK government now has more legal authority to monitor its citizens than ever before, all under the banner of national security. This level of surveillance doesn't just affect criminals, it affects everyone. Your browsing habits, emails, location data, and even social media activity can be collected and stored without your knowledge. Data breaches and misuse of personal information are growing concerns, yet most people don't realize how much of their life is already being tracked. Unlike countries like Switzerland, Estonia, or even Germany, which have strong privacy protections and digital rights, the UK seems to be moving in the opposite direction, towards more control, not more freedom. For anyone who values personal freedom, this trend is deeply concerning. In a world where your data is more valuable than gold, handing over that information without clear consent or protection is a major risk. And it's not just about tech, it's about the kind of society you want to live in. Do you want to raise a family or run a business in a place where you're constantly watched, both online and offline? If the answer is no, then it's time to consider countries where privacy is treated as a right, not a privilege that can be taken away. Number 2. Social tensions are growing. Over the past decade, the UK has become increasingly divided, politically, culturally, and socially. Whether it's the aftermath of Brexit, growing economic inequality, or the rise of online misinformation, the atmosphere across the country has shifted. Communities feel more fragmented. Conversations have become more hostile. Hate crimes have surged since 2016, and minority groups report feeling less safe and less welcome than ever before. It's not just political debates, it's a deep cultural rift that is affecting how people interact, trust each other, and live day to day. Many people say they feel like strangers in their own neighborhoods, not because of immigration, but because of a growing lack of unity and shared values. Social trust is eroding. Institutions that once brought people together, schools, local councils, even the media, are now sources of tension or targets of public frustration. Add to that the housing crisis, overwhelmed public services, and growing class disparities, and it's no surprise that people feel increasingly isolated and anxious. Contrast this with countries where community well-being, inclusivity, and cohesion are actively nurtured, like Denmark, New Zealand, or Canada, and the difference becomes hard to ignore. This social stress doesn't just impact your mood, it affects your quality of life, your children's upbringing, and your mental health. Living in a divided society wears people down, quietly but constantly. It can make daily life feel more stressful, less safe, and more uncertain. If you're looking for stability, kindness, and a sense of belonging, the UK may no longer offer the environment it once promised. Other nations are proving that it's still possible to build societies where differences are respected, communities are supported, and civility isn't just a memory, it's the norm. Number 1. Better options are everywhere. Perhaps the most compelling reason to leave the UK before 2030 isn't what's going wrong here, it's what's going right elsewhere. Around the world, countries are opening their doors to remote workers, skilled migrants, young families, and retirees. From Portugal's digital nomad visa to Estonia's e-residency program, opportunities are expanding fast for those willing to look beyond the UK's borders. You no longer have to settle for high rent, overwork, and political chaos when countries like Spain, Canada, or the Czech Republic are offering better weather, stronger communities, and a higher quality of life, often at a fraction of the cost. The global shift toward remote work has made it easier than ever to earn in one country and live in another. With a laptop and a stable internet connection, you could be working a UK-based job from a beach town in Greece or a mountain village in Slovenia. Healthcare might be more affordable, public transport more reliable, and your rent less than half of what you'd pay in London. Add to that the chance to learn new languages, explore new cultures, and offer your children a broader worldview, and suddenly, staying put feels like the riskier choice. This isn't about escaping. It's about upgrading. It's about recognizing that the world is changing, and that change brings freedom. The UK might be your home, but it doesn't have to be your only option. You have more control over your future than ever before. And as millions of people around the world are already discovering, sometimes the best move you can make isn't just across town, it's across borders. The question now isn't why leave, it's why stay. As you've just seen, the warning signs are no longer subtle. They're loud, visible, and backed by data. From economic stagnation to social division, from rising climate threats to collapsing public services, the UK is changing, and not necessarily for the better. But here's the thing, you're not stuck. The world is full of places offering more freedom, more stability, and better opportunities for you and your family. Whether it's higher wages, cleaner air, safer streets, or simply a better quality of life, you deserve to explore your options. Leaving your home country isn't easy. It's emotional. It's complicated. But it's also one of the most powerful choices you can make for your future. What once felt impossible is now becoming more accessible thanks to remote work, global mobility, and forward-thinking visa policies. This video isn't about fear, it's about freedom. About waking up to the reality that you don't have to settle for less, when there's more out there waiting. So now, we want to hear from you. Would you leave the UK before 2030? And if so, where would you go, and why? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective could inspire someone else to rethink their future. We put a massive amount of research and effort into making videos like this. So if you found this valuable, please support us by clicking that subscribe button. It's free, it takes just 1 second, and it helps us keep bringing you content that actually matters. Thanks for watching. Your next life chapter might be just one decision away.